So this video is going to be an introductory tutorial on kind of raster in general in ArcPro, and then as we proceed, there'll be some more specific, evaluation of some of the key tools that we used in our other video, as well as some of the new features as we move on. So raster, for these videos that are in Pro, as I've said previously, I'm going to go into a little depth into what the tools are actually doing, but largely this is like a transferring your muscle memory from ArcGIS Desktop to Pro, because the mechanics aren't that different all the time. I'll make sure to really call out where they are. So you could definitely pick up the techniques from watching this, but again, I would recommend, if you want a more detailed exploration of some of the tools we cover here, to check out the desktop video as well. So broadly, raster is relatively similar in Pro. You can right-click them and go to their properties to investigate a bit more about them. Essentially learning the rows and columns. Remember, rasters are like a piece of graph paper. These would be showing you kind of how many total cells. The cell size is always going to be in whatever unit you're projected in, so 100 feet by 100 feet. The total size, whether it's an unsigned character here, which means like it's representing a nominal value. Again, all that kind of basic stuff you would find right there. You can also sort of come up and look at the attribute table, but again, only for those that are integers. You can't look at the attribute table of those that are just linear or continuous. Again, because the way raster works is there are hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of small pixels, each with a unique value, and you'd have to show that many unique values in the attribute table and it would crash it. So I could look at the attribute table, put it in the bottom, but nothing too different here. The count, the land cover, so on and so forth. If you want to modify and look at it, you can come to the appearance. Definitely one of the cool new tools is the swipe, as I mentioned before. You can kind of swipe up and down between your rasters, which is nice. Transparency here, also a common one. Your symbologies are hiding here. It may be appropriate later on to do a symbology and raster video. For now, I'll just use the appropriate symbologies when I need them. But remember that unique values is usually used when only you have like a couple values and you want to color for each. Classify is when you have breaks, like maybe you have a medium, a high, a low, and you want to segment the data. And then stretch is really when you have like a gradient and you want to show all of the values across it. Quickly you can mask. I don't really need to because the county boundaries are bigger. I don't really have any good file for this. I could bring in the parks. So if I took parks and dragged it in, I could theoretically mask this to the parks. I don't know why I would do that. It's just going to slow down my computer. Okay, I'm going to stop doing that. But it would kind of mask it to my to just that layer, and then you could control sort of the hill shade or the sun effect on it to really kind of saturate it out. But those are the appearances. Data's roughly the same. If you want to export the raster here, this is just visualizing your trend data. But really when it comes down to raster, a lot of how you operate is still going to be the same. If I were to go to its appearance and again play with the symbology and go to unique values, I could still look at what my no data is. Right, remember, no data is just the value where there literally is no pixel whatsoever. Like there's just nothing there. It would almost like eat it up. Anything plus no data equals more no data. So I can look at that again, nice and easy. I could change my symbology. So, the other thing, and then I'll stop this kind of intro video, which really just was sort of showing some of the kind of basics. Future videos will go into imagery. The next video, I'm going to dive into actually some of the tools and kind of how we mess with them. But the last thing I want to show you before we get there, and I'll remind it at the start of the next video, is you may get to the tools and you may choose one that you've liked to use before, like kernel density, for example. And you may find that it goes gray and it doesn't work. So, Pro also requires, if you want to use the spatial analytic toolbars, you need a raster license. And there should be controlled here, I think in licensing or the add-in manager. But we've got an advanced license here, and these are the different toolboxes I have access to. And because I have access to these toolbars, I'm able to then use kind of all the junk that's associated with them. So you'd either have to buy the license or sort of rent it, as a way of being able to modify those tools. So I'm going to end the video here, and we'll pick up on the next one with some intro to tools, and we'll review some of the basics, and then get into more specific tools.